Alina had lived her whole life in a busy city, where the sound of car horns, tall buildings, and rushing people filled every day. She worked long hours in an office with small windows and bright fluorescent lights that always made her feel tired. She was good at her job, but the pressure kept growing, and for months, she had felt like she was losing a little bit of herself. One day, her friends suggested she take a short vacation somewhere quiet, somewhere far from the noise. After searching online, she found a countryside ranch offering weekend riding lessons. Alina had never ridden a horse in her life, yet something about the ranch pictures made her feel calm. Maybe it was the open fields, or maybe she just needed a break. Without thinking too much, she booked a visit. When she arrived at the ranch, the air felt different, fresh, open, and peaceful. The sky stretched wide above her, and she could smell the clean scent of hay and earth. She felt nervous but excited, unsure what to expect. Her suitcase rolled loudly over the gravel as she walked toward the stable area, where a few horses stood quietly behind wooden fences. She had never been this close to such big animals before, and she took a careful step back when one of them snorted softly. Her heart raced. Yet she also felt curious. She wanted to try something new, something completely different from city life. She was reading a sign posted near the stable when she heard slow, steady footsteps behind her. She turned around and saw a tall man wearing a dusted shirt, jeans, and boots. His hat shaded part of his face, but she could still see his calm brown eyes. He looked strong and quiet, the kind of person who didn't need to speak loudly to be heard. He greeted her politely and asked if she was here for the beginner's lesson. She nodded quickly, hoping her nervousness didn't show too much. He introduced himself as Jacob, the owner of the ranch and the instructor for the lessons. Something about his voice put her at ease. It was calm and warm, like he had spent his whole life speaking soft words to uneasy horses. Jacob noticed right away that Alina was unsure of herself. Many beginners came to the ranch, but something in her eyes showed both fear and determination. He liked that combination because it often meant the person truly wanted to learn. He guided her toward a gentle brown horse named Willow and explained each step she needed to follow before climbing into the saddle. Alina listened carefully, trying to remember everything he said, but the moment she stood beside the horse, she realized just how tall Willow was. Her hands shook slightly, but she didn't want Jacob to think she was scared. When she tried to place her foot in the stirrup, she missed the first time and let out a tiny nervous laugh. Jacob didn't tease her or lose patience. Instead, he steadied the horse and showed her the proper way to mount. His instructions were clear and simple, and with his help, she finally lifted herself onto the saddle. The height surprised her, and for a moment she froze, gripping the reins too tightly. She felt like she might fall any second. Jacob stood beside her, gently adjusting her hands and telling her she was doing fine. He reminded her to breathe, sit straight, and trust the horse. His presence made her feel safer than she expected. As Willow began to walk, Alina felt her heart jump. The movement was new and strange, making her feel unbalanced. She tried to relax, but her body kept stiffening. She looked down too often, afraid she might slip off. Jacob walked next to Willow, keeping a steady hand near the saddle without actually holding it unless she needed help. He told her stories about other beginners to distract her from her fear, explaining that almost everyone struggled on their first attempt. His soft humor made her smile, and soon she felt her shoulders relax just a little. Still, she wasn't completely steady. At one point, Willow stopped suddenly to shake her head, and Alina thought she was about to fall. She panicked, pulling the reins too tight, which made the horse confused. Jacob stepped closer, reassuring both her and Willow. He calmly guided her hand to loosen the reins, showing her how to communicate gently with the horse. He never raised his voice or made her feel foolish for not knowing what to do. Instead, he remained patient, as if he had all the time in the world to teach her. Slowly, Alina began to understand how the horse moved. She learned how to feel Willow's rhythm and allow her body to move with it. It wasn't perfect, but she improved enough that she stopped gripping the saddle desperately. The fear in her chest softened into concentration. Every time she looked at Jacob, he nodded in encouragement, and that gave her strength to keep trying. She realized he wasn't just teaching her how to ride. He was helping her believe in herself again, something she hadn't felt in a long time. After the lesson, Jacob helped her down from the saddle. The moment her feet touched the ground, her legs felt weak and shaky. She laughed again, partly from relief, and partly because she actually enjoyed the experience more than she expected. Jacob smiled, telling her she did well for someone who had never ridden before. Alina felt a warm sense of pride at his words. She brushed Willow's coat gently, thanking the horse for being patient with her. And Willow lowered her head as if she understood. Before leaving the stable, Alina noticed something surprising. She felt lighter, as if the weight she carried in the city had lifted a little. She didn't know if it was the open sky, the quiet land, or Jacob's gentle presence, but something inside her felt peaceful. On her way back to the guest cabin, she kept thinking about the rancher who had taught her with such patience. She wasn't used to people taking their time to guide her so kindly, and the memory of his calm voice stayed with her even long after the lesson. That night, as she lay in bed listening to the soft sounds of crickets outside, Alina felt something new. She was still nervous about the next lesson, but she was also excited. She wondered what else she might learn. Not just about riding, but about herself. She wondered if Jacob would be the one teaching her again tomorrow, and the thought brought a quiet smile to her face. She didn't know it yet, but this simple riding lesson was the beginning of a journey that would change her life more deeply than she ever imagined. The next morning, Alina woke up earlier than she expected. The soft sunlight coming through the curtains felt different from the city's harsh brightness. It warmed the room gently, inviting her to start the day. She got dressed quickly, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. Her mind kept returning to yesterday's lesson, the shaky moments, the unexpected little victories, and especially Jacob's patient voice guiding her through every step. She told herself she was returning for more practice, but deep down, she knew she also wanted to see him again. When she reached the stable, she found Jacob already there, brushing Willow's coat with slow, practiced movements. He looked completely at home, as if he and the horse understood each other perfectly. He greeted her with that same calm tone she remembered, and something inside her relaxed instantly. Jacob noticed the way she stood a little straighter today, her steps more confident than before. He asked if she was ready for her second lesson, and she nodded, smiling shyly. Jacob began by showing her how to prepare Willow for riding. This time, instead of doing everything for her, he let Alina take part. She helped brush the horse's coat, learning how to move the brush in smooth strokes. She even placed the saddle herself, with Jacob guiding her gently whenever she hesitated. She enjoyed the quiet rhythm of the process. It felt almost meditative, and she found herself relaxing into it. The ranch around her was calm, with birds calling from nearby trees and a soft breeze carrying the scent of grass. Once Willow was ready, Alina climbed into the saddle with more confidence than yesterday. She still wobbled a little, but Jacob noticed she didn't freeze or grip the reins too tightly. He praised her small improvement, which made her smile more than she expected. As Willow began to walk, Alina focused on her balance, remembering Jacob's instructions about letting her body move with the horse. She felt more stable, more connected to the rhythm under her. Jacob walked beside her again, but this time he didn't need to stay as close. He explained how to guide the horse with gentle movements rather than force. Alina listened carefully, trying each technique one by one. Sometimes she succeeded, sometimes she struggled, but Jacob never grew impatient. He corrected her softly, reminding her that learning something new always took time. He even shared stories about his own early mistakes when he first started riding as a child, which made her laugh and feel less embarrassed about her own. As the lesson continued, their conversation drifted naturally. Alina asked how long he had owned the ranch. Jacob told her he had inherited it from his father, who had taught him everything about taking care of horses and the land. He spoke about his family with quiet respect, and Alina sensed how much the ranch meant to him. She shared small pieces of her own life, her busy job, the stress she carried, the way she sometimes felt trapped in the city. Jacob listened without judgment, and though he didn't say much, his silence felt understanding rather than distant. During a short break, they sat on a wooden fence overlooking the field. Willow grazed nearby, occasionally lifting her head to look at them. Alina's legs still felt a little tired from balancing in the saddle, but she was proud of herself. Jacob handed her a bottle of water, and she thanked him, noticing how natural his gestures were. He wasn't trying to impress her or act differently. He was simply himself, steady, responsible, and quietly kind. She asked him if many people came to the ranch for lessons. Jacob said yes, but most stayed only a day or two. Some were tourists, some were locals wanting a hobby, but not many returned with the same determination she showed. Alina felt a small warmth in her chest at his words. She hadn't realized he had noticed her effort that much. When the break ended, they returned to practicing. Jacob taught her how to turn Willow in wider circles, how to keep her hands steady, and how to react calmly when the horse made unexpected movements. Alina still made mistakes, but her fear was slowly turning into focus. She found herself enjoying the challenge. Each moment she succeeded, she felt a small spark of accomplishment. Each moment she struggled, Jacob was there to steady her, not by holding the reins, but by teaching her how to steady herself. As the lesson neared its end, Jacob suggested trying a slightly faster pace. Alina's eyes widened. She wasn't sure she was ready. Jacob reassured her he would stay beside Willow the entire time. After a moment of hesitation, she agreed. Willow moved a little faster, not a run, but a comfortable trot. The new movement surprised her, but she felt Jacob's presence close by and focused on her breathing. She was shaky at first, but soon found the rhythm. The wind lifted her hair gently, and she felt a flicker of joy rising inside her. When they slowed back down, she let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Jacob smiled, telling her she had done better than most beginners. After the lesson, Alina climbed down from the saddle with more confidence. Her legs felt tired again, but not weak like the day before. She walked Willow back to the stable, feeling proud of the connection she had formed with the gentle horse. As she removed the saddle, Jacob showed her how to thank the horse properly by stroking her neck and speaking softly. Alina did exactly that, feeling a small bond forming. Jacob handed her a brush to help clean Willow after the ride. They worked side by side, sometimes talking, sometimes quietly focused. Alina noticed how peaceful she felt in those silent moments. She wasn't thinking about work, emails, or deadlines. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was simply present, something she rarely experienced in her city life. Before she left the stable, Jacob asked if she planned to return the next day. His tone was casual, but Alina sensed he genuinely hoped for a yes. She told him she would, and his eyes softened just a little. It wasn't a big smile, but it held warmth she hadn't expected. She walked back to her cabin, with a lightness in her steps, feeling a happiness she couldn't explain. That evening, she reflected on everything that happened. Each moment with Jacob felt natural, easy, and unforced. She liked the way he explained things, the way he listened, and the way he made her feel capable even when she doubted herself. She found herself wondering about him, what he was like outside the lessons, what he dreamed of, whether he ever felt lonely on the wide, quiet ranch. As the sun set behind the hills, the sky turning shades of gold and pink, Alina felt peaceful in a way she hadn't felt in years. She didn't know exactly why, but she sensed that something meaningful was beginning to form slowly, quietly, like a seed planted in soft soil. She wasn't sure where this path would lead, but she knew she wanted to follow it. And as she drifted to sleep that night, she found herself thinking not just about the lessons, but about the gentle rancher who made her feel seen, understood, and unexpectedly hopeful about whatever tomorrow might bring. The next afternoon, when Alina arrived at the ranch for her lesson, the weather was perfect. The sunlight was warm but gentle, and a soft breeze moved through the tall grass. Birds circled high in the sky, and the open land looked as peaceful as ever. Alina felt more confident now. Walking with steady steps toward the stable, she spotted Jacob standing near Willow, checking the saddle straps. He looked up when he heard her footsteps, and for a moment, they simply exchanged a quiet smile that felt natural. as if they had known each other longer than just a few days. Jacob told her that today he wanted to take her on a slow trail ride outside the main training area. Alina's eyes widened a little with both excitement and nervousness. She had only practiced in controlled spaces before, but she trusted Jacob. She felt safe around him, and even the thought of leaving the familiar open area didn't frighten her as much as it would have on her first day. She took a deep breath and agreed, believing that Jacob wouldn't suggest it unless he thought she was ready. Before they left, Jacob walked her through all the basics again. He explained how the trail would have small slopes, how the ground might change, and how Willow would react to natural sounds like rustling bushes or distant animals. Alina listened closely, repeating each step in her mind. She saddled Willow with Jacob's guidance and mounted with much more ease now. When she settled into the saddle, she felt that comforting mix of nervous energy and excitement that always came before learning something new. As they started moving, Jacob rode beside her on his own horse, keeping the pace slow and steady. The trail wound gently through the ranch, passing fields of bright green grass and clusters of tall trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating shifting patterns on the ground. Alina felt herself relaxing as she followed Jacob's instructions. She could hear the soft thud of the horse's hooves and the rustling of leaves in the breeze. It was peaceful in a way she had never experienced in her busy city life. They talked as they rode, though not as much as before. The quietness of the trail made every word feel special. Jacob pointed out different plants, showed her where the creek ran during rainy seasons, and explained how the horses could sense even small changes in the environment. Alina listened with fascination. She had never imagined someone could know the land so deeply. She admired how connected Jacob was to everything around him, the horses, the earth, the rhythm of the ranch. It made her see him in a new light. Halfway down the trail, something unexpected happened. A sudden noise came from a nearby bush, probably just a small animal running through the leaves. But to Alina, it felt loud and sharp. Willow reacted instinctively, lifting her head and stepping sideways. The movement was small, but it startled Alina. For a moment, she lost her balance, gripping the reins too tightly. Her heart jumped, and fear washed over her just like on her first day. Jacob acted instantly. He moved his horse closer and spoke softly to both her and Willow. His voice was calm, steady, and reassuring. He told Alina to loosen her grip on the reins just a little and breathe slowly. He reminded her that Willow wasn't trying to throw her off, she was only reacting to a sound. Alina focused on Jacob's voice, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She felt shaky, but knowing he was right beside her helped her regain control. Willow calmed down quickly under Jacob's steady presence. Alina's breathing slowly returned to normal, though she could still feel the fear lingering inside her. Jacob didn't rush her. He asked gently if she wanted to stop or continue. Alina looked around at the quiet trail, at the wide land stretching out peacefully, and at Jacob's calm expression. She realized she didn't want fear to take away this experience. She wanted to keep going, to trust herself the way Jacob trusted her. So she nodded bravely and said she was ready. Jacob's eyes softened, showing a quiet pride. He rode beside her as they continued down the trail, giving her gentle reminders now and then. Alina held the reins with more confidence. The moment of fear had shaken her, but it had also taught her something important. Jacob wouldn't let anything happen to her, not because he needed to protect her, but because he truly cared about her learning and growing. As they moved farther along the trail, the scenery opened into a wide field filled with tall golden grass. The wind moved through it like a soft wave. Jacob slowed his horse and asked Alina how she felt. She told him she felt surprisingly free. She admitted quietly that she had never ridden like this in her life. The words came out naturally, but they carried a deep meaning she didn't fully understand until she said them. She felt free from fear, free from stress, and free from all the noise that used to fill her days. Jacob didn't say much in response, but the way he looked at her said enough. It was gentle, thoughtful, and full of respect. He told her she was doing well, and that he knew she had the strength to overcome her fear. His words warmed her heart more than she expected. She felt a quiet bond forming between them, something steady and unspoken. They continued riding across the open field. The breeze touched Alina's cheeks, and she felt her heart lift. She let Willow guide her gently, trusting the horse's steps and Jacob's presence beside her. For a long stretch, they rode in comfortable silence. It didn't feel awkward. Instead, it felt peaceful, like something was settling into place inside her. She felt connected to the land, to the horse, and to Jacob in a way she couldn't explain. Eventually, Jacob guided them back toward the ranch. When they reached the stable, Alina dismounted more smoothly than ever before. She felt proud of herself for not giving up after the scare. Jacob praised her courage, telling her that real progress comes from facing challenges, not avoiding them. She smiled at him, feeling grateful for his steady support. Together, they walked Willow back to the stable. Alina brushed the horse with slow, gentle strokes. Willow lowered her head as if trusting her more than before. Jacob watched quietly, noticing how naturally Alina moved now, how she no longer stood stiff or uncertain. The change in her was small but meaningful. As they cleaned up the equipment, Jacob asked if she had enjoyed the ride. Alina told him honestly that it was one of the best experiences of her life. She said she felt like she saw the world differently on horseback. Jacob nodded, telling her that riding opens the heart in quiet ways. They shared another soft smile, a moment filled with something neither of them named but both felt. When Alina returned to her cabin that evening, she couldn't stop thinking about the trail ride. The fear she felt, the way Jacob helped her through it, and the peaceful freedom of riding across the open field all replayed in her mind. She remembered her own words. "I've never ridden like this," and realized they meant more than just riding. It felt like she was discovering a new version of herself, one she didn't know existed. As she lay down to sleep, she thought about Jacob's quiet strength, the way he guided her without ever making her feel small. She wondered what tomorrow would bring, and for the first time in a long time, she felt excited for the future. Something was changing slowly, gently, and she was ready to see where it would lead. Over the next several days, Alina found herself settling into ranch life more easily than she ever expected. What was meant to be a short vacation started to feel like something more, a place where her heart could breathe. She woke each morning with a kind of excitement she had never felt in the city. The wide sky, the open fields, the soft sounds of horses moving in their stalls made her feel calm in a way she didn't fully understand. And every day, without fail, she looked forward to seeing Jacob. Jacob had grown comfortable around her too. He was not a man who spoke unnecessarily, but with Alina, he found himself talking more than usual. He shared small stories from his childhood on the ranch, the lessons his father had taught him, and the things he learned from working with animals. He didn't open up to many people, but with her, it felt natural. She listened with genuine interest, and he could see her respect for the land and the animals growing with each passing day. Even the ranch hands noticed the change. They exchanged knowing smiles when Alina and Jacob walked together or worked side by side. One of them joked lightly that the ranch had never been so lively since she arrived. Jacob simply nodded, pretending he didn't hear. But Alina caught the slight smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Alina spent more time with Willow, too. The once unfamiliar horse had become a quiet friend. She helped feed her in the mornings, brushed her coat in the afternoons, and even learned how to clean her hooves with Jacob's guidance. She made mistakes sometimes, but Jacob never scolded her. Instead, he corrected her gently, showing her the right way while reminding her that learning took time and patience. One evening, after a long, peaceful ride, Jacob led Alina to a small hill behind the ranch. From there, they could see almost the entire property, the fields glowing under the late afternoon sun, the stables casting long shadows, and the sky painted in soft colors as the day slowly slipped into evening. They stood side by side without speaking for a while, watching the quiet beauty around them. The silence between them felt warm and full, not empty. Alina broke the silence first, telling Jacob how different this life felt from her city routine. She described her stressful job, her crowded apartment, and how she often felt disconnected from the world around her. Jacob listened quietly, his eyes fixed on the horizon. She admitted that here, on the ranch, She felt like she had found something she didn't even know she needed. She felt lighter, calmer, more herself. Jacob turned to look at her, his expression soft. He asked her if she had ever considered leaving the city behind. The question surprised her, but she didn't answer immediately. She had thought about it many times since arriving, but saying it out loud felt too big, too uncertain. Instead, she simply said she didn't know what her future would look like. But she knew the ranch had changed her. They walked back slowly toward the stables, and Jacob seemed deep in thought. He had feelings for her, feelings he didn't know how to express. He worried that if he said too much, she might feel pressured. He thought she would eventually leave and return to her old life. The idea of her leaving made his chest tighten slightly. But he kept these thoughts to himself. He believed she deserved the freedom to choose her path without influence. The following day, Alina joined Jacob and his mother for breakfast in the ranch house. It was her first time eating with them, and she felt a little shy walking inside. Jacob's mother, a warm-hearted woman with kind eyes, welcomed her instantly. She served fresh biscuits, eggs, and fruit, insisting Alina eat as much as she wanted. They talked about the ranch, small-town life, and even laughed about Jacob's childhood mischiefs that he rarely mentioned. Jacob pretended to be embarrassed, but his mother's stories only made Alina smile more warmly at him. After breakfast, Alina helped Jacob repair a fence near one of the fields. It was hard work, but she felt proud participating in the ranch chores. Jacob showed her how to hold the tools, how to measure the wooden planks, and how to secure them correctly. Every time she completed a task, he nodded approvingly, and she felt a small but meaningful sense of accomplishment. Later in the afternoon, Alina found herself sitting beside Willow, running her fingers through the horse's mane. She whispered softly to the horse, admitting things she hadn't told anyone, that she didn't feel ready to return to her old life, that she felt connected to the ranch, and that Jacob's presence made her feel safe in a way she couldn't explain. Willow responded with a gentle snort, as if agreeing. When Jacob approached, he overheard part of her quiet confession. He didn't say anything right away, not wanting to startle her, but something settled in his heart. For the first time, he felt hopeful that maybe she wasn't planning to leave after all. As the sun began to set, Jacob asked Alina to walk with him near the stables. She agreed, and they walked slowly along the wooden fence. The warm colors of the sky reflected in her eyes, making them look brighter than ever. Jacob felt his heart beating faster, a rare feeling for someone usually so steady. He stopped walking and turned to face her. His voice was soft, almost unsure, as he told her how much he enjoyed having her there. He admitted that he admired her courage, her kindness, and the way she learned so quickly despite her fears. Alina listened quietly, feeling her heart warm at his words. She told him she didn't want to leave, that she felt more alive here than she had in years. Jacob took a deep breath, gathering his courage. He told her that she meant a great deal to him, more than he expected when she first arrived. He didn't use fancy words or dramatic gestures. He simply spoke honestly, the way he did with everything in life. His sincerity touched her deeply. Alina felt her eyes soften as she stepped closer. She thanked him for believing in her, for teaching her patiently, and for making her feel welcome in a world so different from her own. She told him that his kindness had changed her in ways she couldn't fully describe yet. Their feelings hung quietly in the air, gentle but unmistakable. The moment was simple but meaningful, two people from different worlds standing together, finally admitting what had been slowly growing between them. The peaceful ranch around them seemed to echo their emotions, the soft sounds of evening blending with the quiet rhythm of their hearts. As they walked back to the ranch house, something between them had shifted. It wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was calm, steady, and real, just like Jacob himself. Alina felt a warmth in her chest, knowing she wasn't just learning how to ride a horse, she was learning how to open her heart, how to trust someone, and how to imagine a new future. That night, as she lay in bed, she replayed Jacob's words again and again, feeling a gentle happiness spread through her. She didn't know exactly what would happen next, but she knew one thing for certain. The ranch was no longer just a temporary escape. It had become a place where she felt at home, and Jacob was becoming someone she didn't want to imagine her life without. The morning sun glowed softly over the ranch, on the day that would change Alina's life forever. She woke with a peaceful heart, feeling rested and happy, in a way she couldn't remember feeling back in the city. Each day here had brought her closer to understanding not just the ranch, but herself. Most of all, it brought her closer to Jacob, who had become an important part of her days, without either of them forcing anything. Everything between them happened naturally, like water flowing down a gentle stream. That morning, she walked toward the stable with a light step, humming quietly to herself. The horses greeted her with soft sounds, as if they already knew her routine. Willow, the horse she had grown closest to, nudged her lightly, recognizing her presence. Alina laughed softly and stroked Willow's neck, feeling the same affection she felt for the ranch itself. As she brushed Willow's coat, she thought about the trail rides, the lessons, the evenings spent talking with Jacob, and the growing warmth she felt when she saw him. Jacob appeared soon after, carrying a small wooden box in his hands. He looked different today, not in his clothes, which were the same simple ranch clothes he wore every day, but in the quiet brightness in his eyes. He walked up to her slowly, and even the ranch hands nearby could sense something meaningful was about to happen. But they pretended not to notice. Going about their work with little hidden smiles, Jacob asked Alina to take a walk with him. She agreed, wiping her hands on her jeans as she followed him out of the stable area. They walked past the wide fields, the fences she had helped repair, and toward the hill behind the ranch, the same one where they had watched the sunset together days earlier. Alina felt curious, wondering why he chose this place again. The view was clear and beautiful, with the sky stretching endlessly above them, and the land rolling gently below. They stopped at the top of the hill. Jacob took a deep breath, his heart steady but full. He placed the wooden box on a nearby stone and turned to face her. His voice was soft, but there was something strong and sure beneath it. He began by telling her how much she had changed his world in just a short time. He described how he admired her courage, her willingness to learn, and her gentle way with the horses. He told her she had brought light to the ranch in ways he didn't expect. Alina listened with her heart open, feeling her eyes warm with emotion. She didn't interrupt him. She wanted to hear every word, every feeling he had kept inside. Jacob continued, explaining that he had spent many years on the ranch, believing his life was already settled, quiet, and predictable. But meeting her made him realize there were still unexpected joys in life, joys he hadn't even known he was missing. He took the wooden box and opened it. Inside, resting on a soft piece of cloth, was a simple but beautiful ring. There were no flashy stones or extravagant designs. It was made of silver, shaped with care, crafted by a local jeweler who understood Jacob's desire for something meaningful, yet humble. Alina's breath caught softly when she saw it. Her heart felt full, warm, and steady. Jacob held the ring carefully and asked her, with genuine emotion, if she would marry him. He didn't use fancy speeches or dramatic gestures. He spoke honestly, just as he always did. He told her that he wanted to share his life with her, that he wanted her beside him, not as a guest but as a partner in the world they had begun to build together. He said he would be honored to walk every step of life with her. For a moment, Alina felt the world grow still. Her mind filled with memories of everything she had experienced since arriving at the ranch, the first shaky riding lesson, the gentle encouragement Jacob had given her, the trail ride that had opened her heart, the quiet evenings, the laughter, and the peaceful sleep that only came when she finally felt she belonged somewhere. She realized she had never felt so at home anywhere else, and she had never met anyone who made her feel as safe and supported as Jacob did. Her eyes softened with emotion, and without hesitation, she said yes. The word came naturally, as if she had been holding it quietly in her heart long before he asked. Jacob smiled, a real, full smile that reached his eyes, and gently placed the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, as though it was made for her. They stood together on the hill, wrapped not in dramatic emotion but in steady, warm joy. When they returned to the ranch, Jacob's mother hugged Alina tightly, full of happiness for them both. The ranch hands clapped and cheered, already joking that the ranch would feel even more complete now. Willow nudged Alina's shoulder again, as if sensing the change in her life. Everything felt right, simple, peaceful, and full of promise. Their wedding was planned not as a grand event but as a small and heartfelt gathering. Alina chose a simple white dress that flowed softly in the breeze. Jacob wore a clean shirt and his favorite boots. The ceremony took place outdoors, near the pasture where the horses grazed gently. A few close friends, neighbors, and ranch workers attended. They decorated the area with wildflowers picked from the fields, giving the ceremony a natural beauty that matched the ranch perfectly. As Alina walked toward Jacob during the ceremony, her heart beat steadily with confidence and joy. She felt no fear, no second thoughts. She was exactly where she belonged. Jacob took her hands in his and spoke his vows with the same quiet honesty he used in everything. Alina's vows flowed from her heart, thankful for the man who taught her not just how to ride, but how to trust and open her heart again. When they exchanged rings, the sun shone gently over them, and the breeze carried the soft scent of the fields. Their first moments as husband and wife were marked not by applause but by a deep, peaceful happiness that settled gently around them. After the ceremony, the celebration was simple yet joyful. They shared food, laughter, and stories. Willow stood nearby, decorated with a soft ribbon around her mane. Alina stroked the horse tenderly, thinking about the day she first arrived, frightened, uncertain, and unsure of herself. She had grown so much since then, transformed by patience, gentle guidance, and the steady support of a man who believed in her even before she believed in herself. In the weeks that followed, Alina fully embraced her new life. She woke early each morning to help with the ranch chores, learning more about the animals and the land. She rode Willow often, her confidence growing each day. She no longer clung to the saddle or feared losing control. Riding had become second nature to her, peaceful, freeing, and deeply fulfilling. Sometimes, while riding across open fields with Jacob beside her, she remembered the words she once said, "I've never ridden like this." She realized those words had held a deeper meaning than she understood at the time. She hadn't just been talking about horseback riding. She had been talking about life itself. She now rode through life with confidence, joy, and trust, because she had found a partner who walked beside her with kindness and strength. Her life, once filled with stress and noise, had become calm, bright, and full of love. And every evening, when the sun set behind the hills and the ranch glowed in soft golden light, Alina felt grateful for the moment she first stepped onto that ranch, because it led her not only to a new skill, but to a new home, a new family, and a future she had never even imagined. And every day, Jacob quietly felt the same.